Yesterday morning, something very small happened to me. Honestly, if someone else heard this story, they might think it was nothing important at all. But somehow it stayed in my heart for days. I was buying breakfast before work like usual when I suddenly realized I didn't bring enough money. At first I thought maybe I counted wrong, so I checked again and again. But no. I really didn't have enough with me. At that moment I felt so embarrassed. You know those tiny situations that shouldn't feel like a big deal, but somehow your whole body becomes awkward anyway. That was exactly how I felt. I immediately started apologizing and explaining that I forgot to bring enough cash while mentally preparing myself for annoyance or impatience. But instead, the seller smiled. Not the kind of smile people use just to be polite. It was a very gentle and warm smile. Then she quietly said, "Don't mind. You can bring the rest tomorrow." That was it. Such a small sentence. But somehow that moment made me unexpectedly happy. Even now, whenever I think about it, my heart still feels warm. Maybe because kindness feels different when it appears unexpectedly, especially in adulthood. As we grow older, people don't always treat each other gently because everyone is busy, tired, and stressed in their own way. So when someone suddenly chooses softness instead of irritation, it almost feels surprising, like receiving a small invisible gift. And strangely enough, the happiness from that moment lasted much longer than the embarrassment itself. The awkwardness disappeared after a few minutes, but the warmth stayed for days. And honestly, this feeling reminds me so much of my childhood. When I was little, my aunt sometimes took me to the beach at night. I still remember the smell of salt water, the cold sand under my feet, sitting quietly together listening to the sound of waves while looking at the night sky above the ocean. Before going home, my aunt would often stop by a small house where an elderly woman sold snacks. She always bought a lot, honestly more than we could even finish. At that age, I didn't really understand why until one day she casually told me, "She's already old. If we can support someone a little, that's a good thing." That sentence stayed with me for years because it was so simple. Not some dramatic speech about kindness, just a quiet reminder that helping a little is already meaningful. And maybe that was the first time I slowly began understanding what kindness actually looks like in real life. Not heroic actions, but small things that quietly make someone's day easier. As I got older, I started noticing this more and more. There were moments when I helped elderly people cross the road, and seeing them smile afterward made me feel warm in a way that's hard to explain. Not proud. Not like I accomplished something huge. Just lighter somehow. And gradually I realized something beautiful. When kindness is genuine, both people receive something from it. The person receiving help feels relieved, while the person helping quietly receives warmth, comfort, and a small feeling that maybe the world is still soft in some places. I think humans need these moments more than we realize because life becomes exhausting very easily. People wake up early, work long hours, worry about money, worry about the future, and carry stress silently every day. Sometimes we become so tired that we stop noticing gentle moments around us. But then suddenly someone smiles at us kindly. Someone speaks softly during an embarrassing moment instead of making us feel worse. And somehow that tiny interaction becomes the brightest part of the entire week. I think that's why I still remember certain moments from years ago. Not because they were extraordinary, but because they felt warm. And warmth is unforgettable. Sometimes people underestimate how powerful small kindness can be because it looks too ordinary. But the way someone speaks to you, reacts to your mistakes, or makes you feel safe and understood can completely change how you feel inside. You never know what another person is going through. Maybe they've been stressed for weeks. Maybe they feel lonely. Maybe they're already struggling quietly before you even speak to them. That's why gentleness matters so much. And honestly, I think people remember how you make them feel far longer than we expect. The breakfast seller yesterday probably already forgot about me. For her, it may have been just another normal interaction during a busy morning. But for me, it became one of those little memories that quietly stay in my heart. Just like my aunt probably never realized those evenings near the beach would become memories I still treasure today. And maybe that's the beautiful thing about kindness. It continues living inside people long after the moment itself ends. I think modern life makes people constantly chase success, money, and achievements, as if happiness only exists inside big things. But honestly, some of the happiest moments in my life were never expensive, dramatic, or impressive from the outside. They were simply moments where I felt warmth, connection, and gentleness, like being quietly reminded that humans can still be kind to each other. So these days, I think I want to become someone who leaves small warmth behind, even if it's tiny and even if nobody notices, because now I understand something. Small kindness is never actually small. You never know how deeply it might stay inside someone's heart. And maybe while helping another person feel a little happier, we quietly become happier too.